It's July 18th, so I thought I'd give you a little look at the tomatoes, potatoes, and the things that are growing in the greenhouse. Just last week I finally got the smart pots with the potatoes in filled with compost and potting soil, and almost immediately they started to bloom. I guess I've said before the variety is Irish Cobbler. I've never grown them before, but they're looking nice so far anyway. And I'm continuing with the non-pruning of the tomato plants in this bed and in the greenhouse. The tomatoes out here are getting quite big. There are some small tomatoes, and I think all five varieties out here now have blossoms on them. I'm never happy with this type of tomato support that I'm using, these cages, but I didn't want to poke holes down through the smart pot, so I'm using these wire cages. So far nothing has fallen over, but as they get top heavy with tomatoes, I don't know what might happen to these. I have a new greenhouse ordered, shipped last Friday. It should arrive, I guess part of it should arrive Wednesday. It's coming two different locations. The metal frame and the plastic are from the same company, but two different shipping points. And I'm thinking that I will move these tomatoes, not the potatoes, but I'll move these tomatoes inside the greenhouse. It's going to be right out here in this garden area. I can probably pick them up and take them in one at a time in a wheelbarrow, and maybe I can give them some better support inside there. And there shouldn't be any wind in there. Well, I'll go up to the greenhouse and have a little look at what's happening in there. I'll just add this brief little clip in the middle of my greenhouse and potato update here to show you that the coons returned last night and finished off the corn in the Three Sisters garden. There's now one of the large corn plants still standing. The small ones are coming up, but I'm sure they're just waiting for those to develop corn. So hopefully out of this I may get some squash, possibly a bean or two, but the prospects of corn have been completely eliminated by the miserable little masked bandits. I think it was Brendan Bacon Soda from Ireland who said there's not pruning these tomatoes in the greenhouse, it would turn into a jungle. And I said, yeah, that's probably true, but my greenhouse is always a jungle. This year I've got half as many tomato plants in here as I normally have, and they're still filling it up. And I guess that's, like he said, is a lot to do with not pruning them. Lots of little green tomatoes are forming. If I can get in here and show you right here. This is the stupus. It's got quite a few green tomatoes on it. I haven't read. I'll have to go reread to see how large that they're supposed to be, but I think they're supposed to be a fairly good sized tomato, and they seem to be forming little branches of them. That one branch there has 4 on it now, and I see 4 more blossoms that I think have already been pollinated, so it looks like it's going to be at least 8 on that one branch. So that is stupus. It's doing quite well. The potato leafed variety of tomato. Hopefully that isn't just a blur. The focal range on this little flip camcorder is very hard to judge until after you've processed the video, and then it's too late. But that's a cluster of tomatoes on Oregon Spring, and they're getting some size to them. I put my hand in there to give you an idea. They might look gigantic on the video. They're not that big. They're probably 1.5 inches across or so, but that gives you an idea, I guess, of the size. And that's Oregon Spring. Anyway, it seems to be doing very well. I forgot to mention when I was out in the Three Sisters garden, the corn was all torn down, of course, where I had the time-lapse plant cam set up. So I've taken that down, and I'll process that video, and if there's anything worth putting up on YouTube, I'll post that later today as well. And this is Matt's Wild Cherry. Much smaller, but then they are a cherry tomato, and they're supposed to be smaller, I guess, but Quite pleased in the greenhouse, getting pretty good production so far. Not many insects get in here for pollinating, so I'm constantly going around just sort of flicking the blossoms back and forth, because tomatoes will self-pollinate. They just need to have their blossoms disturbed to move the pollen around. It seems to be working quite well. And this is the unknown variety of hot pepper. There's 3 in the smart pot there, a 7-gallon smart pot, and they've grown, I don't know, 2 feet tall at least, and they're still growing and aren't showing any signs of blossoms, but they're nice healthy green plants. So hopefully as the summer goes on I'll get to see what kind of a pepper comes off of them. And this is the Tigger melon. I made a sort of a cage out of some fencing that I had left over from fencing the poultry in. And they are climbing up. I've had 1 blossom. I'm not certain. I've never grown melons before. The blossom didn't get pollinated anyway. Melons and cucumbers and whatever are in the same family, so I'm assuming there are male and female blossoms. I don't know that for sure, but there's lots of buds there to come out, and I'll have to keep an eye on them. If I think there are male and female blossoms, I'll try to do some hand pollinating. I'd like to get a Tigger melon or 2 to give it a try. And this is Capsicum Annum, black pearl hot pepper. And you can see a lot of blossoms, and I don't know if they're showing up or not, but there are several. There's one there, several small peppers formed on there and starting to develop. I don't think they're very large, even when they're full grown. I think the name sort of gives that away. They're called a black pearl, so I think they're a small pepper. But again, I've been just going around tweaking the blossoms for pollination, and that seems to be working quite well. There are a lot of little peppers on there. So excited about that one. And to finish this little update, a look at the smart pot that has 3 or 4 celery plants growing in it. You might notice down at the base there's a few carrots. I didn't save space in the garden this year for carrots, so I went around with carrot seed and sprinkled them in with everything, and I've got carrots popping up all over the place. Hopefully get some size. But the celery is doing quite nicely. I've never grown celery before. It's probably, I don't know, 15 inches high or so, and the stalks at the base are half the size, I guess, that you would buy in a store. So I guess by the end of the summer anyway, I should have some celery to try. It's one of the things that I plan to try in the new greenhouse. As soon as it's set up, I'm going to plant it with fall crops, cool weather crops, all of the cabbage and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and that sort of thing, because I'm thinking that I can probably keep it growing in our climate in a greenhouse. These cool weather crops would probably grow through until well into November anyway, so it'd be fun to give it a try. I've ordered the seed. Well, thank you for watching. That's this little update finished.